Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a 3-in-1 review / comparison video today of the mid-cut first takedown models on offer from Nike, which includes the Mercurial Veloce 3DF, the Hypervenom Fatal 3, and the Magista Orden 2. Now, obviously the Tiempo line is not included here, one, because they don't make a mid-cut variation, and two, they technically don't offer anything at this particular price point. The Orden 2 retails at $180, while the Phatal and the Veloce 3 retail at $170. So for takedowns, these are actually quite expensive. So not only am I going to be talking about each shoe individually and comparing them amongst each other, I'm going to be talking about whether or not any of these shoes are actually worth their very, very high retail prices, because at $180, especially if you regularly watch this channel, you've had opportunities to buy the Obra 2, the Phantom 3, or the Superfly 5, the top-end variations of these shoes, for that price or less. So again, very, very expensive for takedown models. Are they worth it? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. If you are interested in any of these three shoes, there'll be links to all three review pages down below in the description of this video. And on those review pages, you will find individual buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you will actually be able to pick them up below their normal retail price. You almost never have to pay full retail. So if you're interested in learning more, stick around. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the Magista Orden 2, which, if I'm not wrong, this is the most expensive takedown model you can buy at $180. Now, what's significant about this colorway, the Motion Blur Pack, is that's the first variation where we're actually seeing a change to the Orden 2 upper. The material has remained the same, but you'll find that the texturing is more like what you'll find on the Obra 2 with its Flyknit upper. This isn't Flyknit, of course, but it does have that 3D texturing where you actually have the same texturing mirrored on the outside on the inside of the upper. So instead of having a really thick kind of padded upper, you're getting that dampened sensation through the texturing while still maintaining a synthetic material that does have a relatively low profile sensation on foot. It's not overly bulky, the material's not overly thick. Speaking of the material itself, it is decent quality. It's got good softness to it, it's flexible enough, it doesn't feel cheap on your feet, but at $180, honestly, I would expect a little bit more. Now again, in comparison to previous generations, or previous variations, I should say, of the Orden 2, where you had more of kind of single individual dots that wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing, but for the most part got the same point across. This feels a little bit less bulky to me. Again, it's okay. It's nothing special. At $180, you could charge a top-end model. You could buy a top-end model at that price. You could charge that price for a top-end model. Other brands do that, actually. So $180, again, while it's not bad, I would expect the quality to be a little bit better. The finish on the surface of the upper does have a slight micro texturing to it. It's a takedown model, so you're not going to find ACC all conditions control. Keep that in mind. That's the case for all of the shoes in this video. And then, of course, it's a mid-cut shoe. So what you're going to find running through the middle is some elasticated material which flows into the collar. I know it looks like Flyknit, but it technically is not. Although it is very, very close. This is a little bit thinner and just, not as good in terms of overall quality, but still feels pretty good. It gets the feel across. It's going to be a very general, a very similar general experience in terms of the fit in the heel and just the mid-cut feel in general. You will get it from this shoe without spending $300 on a pair of Obra 2s, which you don't have to do, by the way. You can always find a lot of top-end models on sale. You don't necessarily have to pay full retail for them. But again, you're getting the general point across as far as a mid-cut shoe is concerned. But just keep in mind, there is really no performance benefit to a mid-cut shoe. That is a big misconception. And I think part of the reason why Nike is able to charge $170, $180 for a takedown model that has the mid-cut design, because to the uneducated consumer, they're going to see something like this, they're going to look at the Obra 2 as well, and automatically assume that, hey, this is a good deal at $180 if it's going to cost me $300 for the top-end shoe, even though they are very, very different products, where I would make the argument that the Obra 2 is a significantly better quality shoe in pretty much every single way versus the Orden 2. I'm not saying that this is bad, but again, at $180, I would expect a little bit more. In regards to the sole plate and stud pattern, it's a standard TPU plastic construction, and of course the same firm ground stud pattern you're going to find across the entire Magista line. It gets the job done. Nothing too crazy, but it definitely does work well on firm natural grass playing surfaces. In regards to weight, the shoes in a size 9.5 US weigh in at 8.7 ounces. So not overly heavy, not overly lightweight either. And in regards to fit and feel, they do run a half size small, like you'll find with the rest of the Magista line. So instead of my usual size 9 US, I bumped it up to a 9.5. Fit in the length was absolutely perfect. Width-wise, they do seem a little bit wider than the previous variations of the Orden 2, but still very similar to what you'll find across the Magista line. So it does have a shape that will be suitable for most foot types. If you have really, really wide feet, maybe not the best option for you, but again, they will fit most people, and out of the box comfort is actually pretty good. I do definitely prefer this upper over the first variation that we got from the Orden 2. So at $180, they're definitely not bad, but you do have better options and you should consider what is on sale, because we have seen Obra 2s drop below $180 pretty frequently so far. So yeah, you can buy these, but bear in mind that you can probably get a top-end model for the same price or even less. Speaking of the Motion Blur Pack colorway though, because we will take a quick look at that as well, you're gonna find white for the majority of the upper, and then of course Volt Yellow kind of fading into the heel area. It's got this little bit of a stripe design, and then it is just solid Volt at the back. A little bit of an extension bit on the medial side of the shoe. The collar, laces, and tongue area all in Volt Yellow as well. Then you do have the fade there on the bottom of the sole plate from Volt to white in the forefoot. So all in all, very straightforward colorway. Pretty good looking in my opinion. If you're a fan of Volt Yellow, there's a lot to like about these. They will get dirty though, given the white upper, but that's something that you kind of take on with any white shoe. Next, we have the Nike Hypervenom Fatal 3. And I guess the tricky part about justifying this particular shoe is, again, the $170 retail price. It's pretty steep. But you have a low-cut variation of the Phantom 3, which retails for $250. Still a significant price jump, but below the Fatal 3 at $80 US, you have the Hypervenom Felon 3, which I would argue is very similar in regards to overall quality to that of the Fatal. The Fatal is definitely better. I don't think there's any questioning that, but the gap doesn't necessarily justify over double the price of the Felon 3. So if you absolutely must have a mid-cut Hypervenom, this is the cheapest one to get. But if you just want something with a Nike Skin upper, I think the Felon 3 is the better value overall. So with this particular shoe, what you're getting, unlike the top-end Phantom variations, you get a Nike Skin upper versus Flyknit. So Nike Skin is basically a mesh-based synthetic material with a Nike Skin fuse layer over top, acting as a reinforcement layer. You're also going to find Flywire cables, which is interesting for a takedown model. We've never really seen that before from Nike, but that is what's attaching your lacing system to the upper itself. And overall, the effectiveness of this lockdown system is very, very good. The shoe itself could pass as a top-end model, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. The Nike Skin material, I think out of these three mid-cut models from Nike, offers the best, most premium touch, especially once broken in. It's got that mesh-based material, so once it does soften up a little bit, it's very flexible, it moves with your foot quite nicely, and the touch that it provides is thin with that little bit of a padded sensation because it is a mesh base. But very sock-like, very, very comfortable. And overall, I'm a big fan of this particular upper. It does match, I guess, the price point that they're asking. The quality standard is at that level, if you ask my opinion. But again, you can get a very similar quality standpoint from the Felon 3 at the $80 price point versus these, which retail for $170. No ACC, like I mentioned. You, of course, do get the mid-cut aspect of the shoe. Again, the actual knitted material isn't actually Flyknit, so it's a little bit lower quality than what you'll find from the top-end Phantom 3DF, but you still have it running through the middle where the laces are located, giving this upper kind of a one-piece design. You get the interesting collar design of the Hypervenoms as well, where it's a little bit higher on the medial side, internal heel counter, and then of course the sole plate and stud pattern, which is very similar to what you're going to find on the top end shoe. Not a whole lot of difference here. Very good firm ground stud pattern, pretty aggressive traction, kind of the middle ground between the Mercurials and what you get from the Magistas. You actually get the Mercurial chevron style studs on the lateral side of this stud pattern. In regards to weight, the shoes weigh in at 7.3 ounces in a size 9 US, which is, again, relatively lightweight, kind of what you would expect in comparison to the top end models. The top end ones are a little bit lighter, but this is still very, very close to that. But again, expected at $170. And in regards to the fit and sizing of the shoe fits quite nicely. A little bit tighter overall in comparison to what you'll find from the higher end models I found, but still snug enough that they will fit most people. It's not overly tight, it's not overly narrow by any means. And again, once you break them in, you're gonna get a good soft feel from this particular upper, although tying the laces is absolutely essential to getting this shoe to have the proper fit. The flywire cables are very, very effective in terms of securing your foot in place. And in regards to sizing, I wear my usual size 9 US here, the same sizing I wear across the entire Hypervenom line. They do run true to size, and that's how I would recommend going about sizing these shoes if you're looking to get a pair for yourself. In regards to the colorway, this being the Motion Blur Pack, you do get this really nice kind of light blue color running through the lateral side of the shoe, then flowing up into the collar with a darker blue accent here at the very back, the inside of the collar, and then the actual flywire cables are that shade of darker blue as well. You have white for the medial side of the shoe, which looks really, really good. It definitely pops against that blue background, I guess the split design that you have with this particular colorway. You get a black Nike swoosh here on the medial side, your black Nike skin branding right there, and then the swoosh on the heel is actually black with a white outline, which I think looks quite good. You have a white sole plate with the Hypervenom branding there in black as well, and then all of the studs are translucent, which also gives this shoe a very premium vibe, which it should have, again, for the $170 retail price that they're asking. Finally, we have the Mercurial Veloce 3 DF. Now, what's interesting about this model is, one, it's quite expensive for a takedown, common theme amongst this video, $170, but unlike the other two shoes, this does have a low-cut variation, a regular Veloce 3, which retails for $130, $40 less than the mid-cut version. So if you're talking about pure value, the low-cut version is the better value because the overall quality of the Veloce 3 is quite good. And the addition of the collar, while that's something, it counts for something, it's not necessarily worth $40 in my opinion, unless you absolutely must have a mid-cut Mercurial at this particular price point. Again, you can probably find a Superfly 5 on sale in an older colorway for very close, if not at $180. But again, if you're talking about pure value, I think the regular low-cut Veloce 3 is a better value overall. So with this particular shoe, what you're getting, it's a synthetic upper material. It's not Teijin synthetic like you'll find on the Vapor 11. And of course, it's not a Flyknit upper like you'll find on the Superfly 5. Instead, it's just an unnamed thin synthetic material. And again, the quality is okay. The Veloce model has always been a pretty decent takedown, especially the Veloce 2 that had actually the Teijin synthetic from the high-end model. This does not anymore, unfortunately, but again, the quality is still quite good. It's going to provide something along the lines of what you'll get from a Vapor 11, a little bit thicker, not quite as premium, but still very, very thin, that pingy kind of raw sensation, no extra padding. That's what this is going to provide. You also get the speed rib texturing across the entire upper, which isn't super noticeable in all honesty. And of course, you won't find ACC, being that this is a takedown model. As far as the mid-cut aspect of this shoe is concerned, you're going to find that the middle portion where the laces are positioned is filled in with an elasticated knitted material flowing into the collar. Again, it's not actual Flyknit, it's just a regular knitted material. It's not quite as premium feeling as what you'll find from the Flyknit material found on the Superfly 5. Nonetheless, it gets the job done and does give you that mid-cut experience. Even again, there is no performance benefit to that. It just changes the way the shoe fits in the heel area. You have an internal plastic heel counter, and as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, this does not have the anatomically shaped Nike plate sole plate like you'll find on the Vapor and the Superfly models. Instead, it's just a TPU plastic, standard flat construction, so it feels pretty normal in that regard. But you do get the Mercurial stud pattern, which is very, very aggressive. If you want the most amount of bite when pretty much performing any kind of maneuver on a firm natural grass field, this does that better than anything else out there, in my opinion. In regards to weight, in a size 9 US, these guys weigh in at 6.6 ounces, so they are relatively lightweight. You're very similar in regards to what you'll find from the Vapor as well as the Superfly from a weight standpoint, so that is very good. But again, to be expected at $170. And that's all there really is to say in regards to tech specs. As far as how they fit and feel on feet, it does have a tighter fit as you would expect from the Mercurial line. A little bit different because of the sole plate and of course the material that's not quite as premium as the higher end models. But if you like that tight, really no extra space fit on the inside of the shoe type feel on your foot. You're definitely going to like the way that this shoe feels in general. Again, I would argue that the low cut variation, Veloce 3, is a little bit more comfortable, but overall, you can get a comfortable fit out of this shoe if you like a tighter feel overall. If you have really, really wide feet, probably not the best option for you, but if you've worn Mercurials before, you'll unlikely have any issues fitting into this particular model. As far as sizing is concerned, I wear my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. Pretty much across the board with any Mercurial model, going true to size is how you should go about things. As far as the colorway is concerned, being part of the Motion Blur pack, you have what is basically a very, very bright pink in the collar, laces, and tongue area, and it kind of fades from the heel into the forefoot, eventually turning solid white with, of course, the black Nike swoosh with the white outline on both sides, the Mercurial branding in black right here, some white accent going down the back, and then the entire sole plate, as you guys can see, is white in color with translucent black stud tips. So overall, very, very bright. Personally, not my favorite type of color to wear. I know a lot of people like pink shoes though. Nike's had some pretty successful pink launches in the Mercurial line especially. So I'm curious to hear what your response is going to be with this particular shoe and how people will go about liking them. But for me, a little bit too pink, but nonetheless, definitely an interesting colorway. Definitely reminds me a lot of the 2012 Euro Clash Pack colorways. The Mercurial had the pink heel with the white and black swoosh. So this is kind of more or less a remake of that particular colorway, if you will, with a lot more pink this time around. All right, guys, so that is my review for the 3 mid-cut first takedown models in Nike's current lineup. The key takeaway from this video should be that none of these 3 shoes are bad. They're all actually quite good in regards to overall quality, but $170, $180, if you have that in your budget to spend on a new pair of shoes, these should not be your first choice. Consider what's on sale, consider what else is out there, because you can often find, even within the Nike lineup, an older Superfly 5 colorway, an older Obra 2 colorway, even an older Phantom 3 colorway on sale for the price of some of these takedown models. So if you don't have to have the latest and greatest colorway, like I said, you can often get a much better quality shoe at $170, $180. So please keep that in mind. With that said, if you are interested in any of the 3 shoes in today's video, there are links to all 3 review pages down below in the description. And on those pages, you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick them up below their normal retail prices. If you have any questions regarding these shoes, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.